So now I'm going to welcome to the stage Justin Watkins, partner with Faegre Drinker, and he's going to be bringing with him Juan and Luba of Mondelez. Now, we've actually never had Mondelez on stage before under Luba's leadership, so thank you very much for being here. And Be Tomorrow Ventures, thank you very much for supporting the program. Justin, why don't you take Luba and Juan to the seats, and then we'll get started. Thanks.
All right. Good afternoon, everybody. Always good to be back at the GCVI Summit. So thank you for having us, and thank everybody for being here. It's been a great group of sessions so far. My pleasure to be with Luba and Juan today. We're going to have a panel not about AI. I'm sorry to disappoint for those of you who are looking for more AI. But we're going to talk about consumer products. So because I think it's relevant, why don't we start with some backgrounds? Luba, we'll start with you. I know you're relatively new to Snack Futures, but you've got a background in consumer products. So maybe share a little bit about that with our colleagues here.
Sure. I spent the past 7 years in the corporate venture group at AB InBev, so investing primarily in beverage alcohol and cannabis as well. And I now lead the venture investing group at Mondelez. Mondelez makes Oreos and Cadbury and a few other brands globally. And the group invests in snacks globally, mid-stage companies, as well as earlier stage enabling technologies.
Great. Okay. Thank you. All right, Juan?
Yeah, sure. So Juan Palacios, I work on Be Tomorrow Ventures. We're the CVC of BAT, British American Tobacco. My background is very different than Luba because I've been from the corporate side. I've been with the company around 18 years in different functions, and then just joined the fund early last year.
Excellent. Good. Well, thank you again, both of you, for being here. So let's talk about current issues and opportunities. Maybe Juan, we'll start with you, but give us your thoughts about current challenges, current opportunities, and in particular, any challenge or opportunity that frankly is unique to consumer goods.
Yeah, for sure. So just to give a bit of the context and you understand kind of what we're looking for into our fund, and it will lead to the discussion. So we are BAT, British American Tobacco. We make cigarettes. But we know that long term we need to switch our strategy to better for you products. Our long-term strategy is to move consumers from cigarettes to less harmful products like electronic cigarettes and so on. But we know that we need to go one step beyond and go to beyond nicotine. So really what we're doing in terms of the consumer goods, we're looking for functional drinks, functional foods that kind of replicate the consumer moment. So we're looking to other set of stimulants that help people with energy, focus, calm. So the big opportunity that we see is that nowadays we know that the demand and consumers, including a lot of people here, are looking for those products, functional products that are better for you, right? The days of just drinking a Coke for the sake of drinking a Coke, they're kind of starting to wind down. So you're looking more for drinks that have, or food that have certain ingredients that will help you feel better, that will give you energy, that will help you focus, sleep, or be calm. So the demand is there. The challenge that we see is that now there are too many companies doing the same thing. And a lot of these companies, in reality, they don't have enough science to back up the claims. So if you as a consumer start buying a drink and really you don't feel anything from it, you're going to stop drinking that drink, just buying that drink. So in reality, it's going to be more like, how do we kind of like find the right companies that can make the right claims with the right science behind it? So I think that's going to be the challenge that we're seeing right now. I assure you that if you go to Expo West down in LA right now, more than half of the companies are making all these claims with really no idea, no science behind it. So that's one challenge. The other challenge is actually more from the financing market, right? We know that markets are dry, and we know that whatever money is available is all going to be focused on AI, it's going to be focused on renewable energies, and consumer segments are no longer the darling of Wall Street. They're no longer sexy for investors, which means that then maybe the speed of innovation is going to slow down because without money coming in, it's only the strategics that are trying to put money to get into this. So how is that going to continue to grow over time? We'll see what will happen.
Yeah, no, makes sense. Luba, similar challenges and opportunities, different ones? What do you see?
I think one of the things that we've seen that has been interesting has been the rise of store brands. So store brand dollar sales growth outpaced national brand sales growth last year as well as the year before, not just in the US, but in other markets as well. Part of that is obviously inflationary pressures. But even as inflation is cooling, we're still seeing that consumer perceptions of food prices are quite high. So for those of us, I don't know if anyone in the room has a brand-driven investment thesis, but for those of us that do, it challenges, do brands matter anymore when consumers are not necessarily shopping for brands? I personally think every challenge is an opportunity, so I think it is an investment opportunity. Brands take a long time to grow, whether you're doing it organically or inorganically. And I think it's a great time to invest in brands who are otherwise struggling to pick up dollars for the reasons that Juan mentioned. Give them the time to grow, and by the time that the macroeconomic situation improves, those brands are going to have the strength that you want them to have.
Yeah, and so how does that? We didn't really talk about this, but how does that investing in brands? How does that affect your overall investment strategy?
I would say it's a big part of our investment strategy. I think what it requires is sort of counseling and advice from the mothership without a lot of intervention, because you need them to be able to sustain their sort of independent identity, because that is what the whole promise of the brand. But I think that it is, they want strategics. They don't have strategics available. They don't have really any capital available at this point. So it's a great opportunity for us.
Yeah, good. Okay, so it is the Global Corporate Venturing and Innovation Summit. Let's talk about innovation for a few minutes. Driving innovation and creating growth in the consumer sector, what are the right tools, and what are the methods for not only promoting that innovation but supporting it? And I guess ultimately, is CVC always the right answer, or is it something else? Luba.
I'm smiling because I started my career actually in innovation and moved into corporate venture, so I feel very, very strongly about this.
Good.
Maybe controversial opinion. I don't think that corporate venture is always the answer. I think if you zoom out for a second, no large corporation is born with a CVC arm. It's not even born with an innovation group if it's a consumer. You just have a brand and a product and you're selling it and it's growing and it's working well. So I think by the time that you have an innovation arm or a CVC arm, something about the growth engine is stalling out and not working, essentially. So I think it's about figuring out what the right tool is for the job and what the wielder of the tool can tolerate, right? So what does your corporate parent want to maximize? What are they willing to give on? And that really depends on the corporate. So if you're trying to sort of accelerate speed to market to fill a portfolio gap, corporate venture might be a great tool. If you're trying to maximize proprietary value, maybe you should be doing it yourself. So I think there's lots of considerations. There's no one clear answer. Someone that I see doing it really well in the space right now actually is Kraft Heinz. I don't know if they're here today, but I think that team is doing a really, really good job of flexing open innovation, organic, venture, M&A, all depending on what they're trying to solve for.
Yeah. Okay. And Juan, how do you sort through that soup? What tools?
Yeah, I think for us it's a bit of a different case than Mondelez, because we're trying to go into a whole new space. And in that new space, we don't have any capabilities. We don't know how to make energy drinks. We don't know how to make confectionery chocolates. We have some caffeinated chocolate, for example, in our portfolio. We're developing those capabilities internally too. So we're not putting all the eggs on the venturing basket. We're trying to develop internal capabilities because we're trying to do a portfolio play. We cannot just go and buy or invest in a lot of different companies. We want to go internally too. But we do see CVC as at the lead front of the innovation and go into a whole new space where we don't have any capabilities, any knowledge. So it has played a great tool because the way that we're working with some of our companies in our portfolio is it's a two-way street. We help them any way we can. A lot of things that we do are more back office, governance, HR, things that these companies are not ready to do. but we do get first, insights from what's going on in the market, what's working, what's not working in that space. So we're very connected with our business partners on the department called Wellbeing and Stimulation, working with the R&D team. So right now CBC, or our venture unit, is playing a massive role into that very long-term strategy called Beyond Nicotine.
Yeah.
If you're looking for a chocolate confectionery partner, we should talk. We can help.
There you go. Doing business on the stage.
Yes.
Beautiful.
Yes, love it.
That's great. Good. All right. So I just real quick, by show of hands, anybody else with us today from the consumer products market? Anyone? Okay. All right. So we got a few folks. So let's. I want to spend the time we have left here talking about unique factors in the consumer products sector. Let's start with that. But then I also want to hear about where there may be overlap between consumer products and other industries. Are there overlaps? Are there synergies there? So Juan, we'll start with you.
It's an interesting one, and it's a question that I've been thinking for a while, and to be honest, because I know like everybody may expect to say AI, there's going to be a connection between consumer goods and AI. I'm sure there's going to be at some point in time. But in reality, I know there was only a few people here on the consumer side, but to be honest, everybody here is a consumer on those, of those products too, which is interesting. But when you look about into correlation to our own industries, at least there isn't one with, for example, ours as a tobacco nicotine company. But I think an interesting aspect that I've been thinking about a lot is about ESG. And actually, we had a discussion yesterday because we combined the sustainability and consumer councils together, and we did a round table. And it was interesting to see the connection into now consumers are looking for products that are also sustainable and are being manufactured the right way. So of course, that means that plays across many different industries in terms of supply chain, distribution, clean energy, and so on, because now the consumers are the ones that are demanding for that. So if you look at it from that lens, it connects to many, many different industries out there. The big question that we were having the discussion yesterday is the consumer willing to pay for it or not? Mm-hmm. And to be honest, I think we don't know if consumers were willing to pay or not, because with cost of living and everything going up, it's going to be an interesting dilemma that goes into the future.
Yeah, very nice. All right, Luba?
I would say something that's unique to consumer, but I think it's good for all of you that you're not in consumer, is that the economics of venturing in consumer, I think, are very different. Yeah. And maybe you're not going to get the 10x generally that everyone else maybe here is expecting or is able to. So the way that we think about building our portfolio is on a more measured level, I would say, in terms of returns.
Right.
I think in terms of opportunities for collaborating maybe with different sectors that are not necessarily CPG or FMCG, I think one of the things that I think about a lot is that we know and have talked a lot about the fact that consumers are shopping and they're looking for some mix of functional and emotional benefits. Fine. That used to be very locked into a particular format, right? So if I wanted to relax with my coworkers after 5 p.m., that meant I'm having a drink. It could depend what kind of a drink, but I'm having a drink with them. Now that might mean I'm playing a video game with them, right? So the fragmentation of both functional and emotional benefits across formats, I think has been really interesting in consumer and opens up space for collaboration, for co-investment, for licensing, for all kinds of approaches to working together. So I think I've been quite interested here in the past few days to talk to consumer tech, media, et cetera, people who have been here, because there are other ways now to deliver the same benefits, and we really haven't seen that, I would say, up until like the past 5 years.
Yeah.
And just something to add, because I was thinking about it. Also, an aspect of on uniqueness on consumer goods is that a lot of it is about brand and marketing. So it's going back to old school, having a good brand, having a good marketing campaign that reaches the consumers that you want to, that it resonates with you as a consumer. Because you can have a great product, and I'm sure there are many of them out there, but if you don't have a good brand, you're not going to be, as a consumer, attracted to it. So I know we continue to, the business dynamics overall continue to change, but on consumer goods, you still go back to old school marketing, branding. Of course, now you use social media, influencers, and all of this. but that's a very different aspect to many of the different industries that we have here.
Yeah.
And a lot of that time, that branding is the founders. They are like the spirit and the heart and the soul behind the companies. So that means that in terms of when you're doing the investment, working with the founders, being sure that the big machine doesn't suffocate the investment is key.
Sure.
And that's why it's a good time to invest in brands.
Yes.
Well said. All right, so in the few minutes we have left, I just want to give you the opportunity to share maybe a little bit about the marketplace and where you think we're headed. We heard Dan a couple of panels ago from Aramco talk about pessimist and an optimist having very different perceptions of the same situation and maybe needing to think differently. When things are really good, they're maybe not quite as good as they think we are, and likewise when they're really bad, not as bad as we think we are. So just share your view of the innovation and venture world. Where do you think we are, and where do you think we're headed? And this one's a little bit of a jump ball. So you.
Yeah.
I think this has been sort of said across the sessions, but I think it, particularly at least for consumer, I do think that some of the things that we see in like the broader venture space don't necessarily feel as pressing when you're in the corporate, and so there is a benefit to being in corporate in that you can participate. You have access to capital maybe when it's drying up for other people. So I think we feel a little bit shielded from some of the challenges that other players are experiencing in the space, and I think it's a real asset, right, to playing the role that we do.
Sure.
And I think that we're seeing, again, particularly in consumer, a lot more willingness from the startups to be talking to us, to be talking to a strategic, where otherwise there might be concern about like where does this go? Is there an M&A? Is there an exit? What does that all mean?
Right.
So I think for us, we see it as like fairly much like business as usual a bit, and not particularly pressured. And I think also in consumer, like people are always going to have some of the same needs, right? Like people will always snack, they will always relax, they will always brush their teeth. Like so much of consumer is based on staple behaviors that don't really change irrespective of macroeconomic trends. So I think that's another reason why this is sort of a little bit of a protected bay in the storm.
Right. Juan, do you feel similar?
Yeah.
Similarly
I'm the optimist
protected?
in Soviet Russia.
Yeah, look, I'm always very optimistic and 100% agree with Luba. Like consumers are consumers. We're going to continue to eat. We're going to continue to drink. But I think in terms of functional foods and better for you food, I think the macro trends are going to continue to get, bigger and bigger. So there are going to continue to be opportunities out there, and there's going to continue to be companies who are innovative in the space. And it gives a lot of opportunity for strategic investors because, like Luba said, it's not a sexy area. It's not where you're going to get unicorns. I think Prime is just an anomaly. And I think that's where we as strategics are very optimistic about what opportunities are out there for us to come, and then also to see how we can help our portfolio companies to grow.
Great. Fantastic. Love the optimism. That's a great note to close on. So
Yes,
thank you very much, both of you, for being with us and for sharing your thoughts. And hope it was helpful to the group. But round of applause, please. So.